Zephyr's third perk is called Silver Key. The Silver Key is a key to a forgotten castle. The holder of the key can deposit and withdraw items from the Room of Silver. The key is currently equipped in Zephyr's left hand. In other words, the key allows the owner to have a subspace in their hand. Zephyr brought out a plant and a cloth from his subspace. He placed the items in front of Court. Court was shocked to see the items. The plant is known as the Dragon Soul Plant. It is a natural tonic that has the ability to make one calm. Our boy loosened the clothes around his hand and tied it to the spear. He asked Court to stay back. He took a stance and told Court that things are about to get rough. Court was shocked to hear this. He did not understand what was going on. He asked Zephyr to not go close to the predator. He reminded Zephyr that he is not a combatant. Court used the cloth to cover his injury and tried to stand up. He already knew that he was going to die, but he did not want to die while hiding behind a miner. Before Court could take a step, the predator screamed. The monster's voice paralyzed Court. He fell to the ground and began to tremble. The monster screamed in order to use a skill known as Fear. This skill allows the user to paralyze any foe with terror. While trembling on the ground, Court remembers a story his senior told him. The story takes place a few years ago when an adult predator attacked a nearby village. The monster easily killed and feasted upon the villagers. The villagers could not run, and they had to see how the monster was tearing through their friends and family. They could not run because they were paralyzed by fear and could not move a muscle. There was nothing they could do except wait for their turns. Court realized that he had no chance of surviving. At least that is what he believed. While shaking in fear, Court hears the sound of metal. He did not know what was happening. When his eyes cleared up, he saw Zephyr facing the monster head-on. The predator screamed and swung its claws at Zephyr. Our boy easily dodged the attack and went below the monster. Zephyr spat out the Dragon Soul Plant he put in his mouth. He used the tonic to overcome the predator's fear skill. Of course, the plant was not enough to block the monster's skill, so Zephyr used his second perk known as Hermes Vision. This perk increases the effects of all medicinal items by 500%. While running below the monster, Zephyr contemplates about how he only has one perk that gives him a weapon. This weapon requires a huge amount of magic power, so Zephyr cannot use it right now. Zephyr brought out a potion from his subspace. He believed that this potion would be enough to take care of the monster. He poured the potion on the tip of his spear. This potion was created by Zephyr's old friend. His friend's name is Fade, and he is known as the Venom King. This potion is known as Burial, and it is the 72nd Venom. The scene shifts and we are taken back to the past. We see Zephyr talking to Fade. While staring at a bunch of paper, Zephyr asked Fade if it is okay for him to be sharing the recipe he spent his entire life making. Fade laughed when he heard this. He did not see the point in hiding his recipe when the world has fallen. He told our boy that it is better for everyone to use it than for it to become useless. Fade told Zephyr that he wants him to use the potion to kill more monsters and save at least one person. The light in the room brightens Fade's face, and we see that half of his face has been burnt. Fade looked at Zephyr with anger in his eyes and asked him to do his best. The scene shifts and we are taken back to the present. Zephyr dodged the monster's attack and stabbed it with his spear. He took out his spear with a lot of force. The predator screamed out in pain. Burial is a lethal venom which is made from very common herbs. Once it enters a person's bloodstream, it will spoil their organs and cause excruciating pain. Zephyr smiled when he realized that his friend created such a terrible poison because he is a huge sadist. It will take 3 minutes for the venom to completely take effect. Our boy knew that he simply had to stay alive for 3 minutes. Of course, this is not easy because his opponent is a predator. The monster tried to smash Zephyr with its hand. Zephyr was able to dodge this attack by jumping. While in the air, he used his spear to stab the predator multiple times. The monster quickly swung its tail and used it to attack Zephyr. Our boy was able to block the attack with his spear, but he got smacked into a boulder. The moment Zephyr hit the boulder, the predator rushed to attack him. It opened its mouth and tried to bite Zephyr's head off. Zephyr smiled when he saw the monster coming close to him. He threw a bottle of Burial into its mouth and moved out of the way. The predator crashed into the boulder. Our boy used his sword to cut it from below. The monster screamed out in pain. Before the monster could take another step, it spat out some blood. Zephyr realized that the monster only had 1 minute left before it dies. While the monster was weak, Zephyr knew that he could not still outrun it. He realized that he had to land a finishing blow on the monster. He quickly rushed to attack the predator. Zephyr stabbed the predator in its stomach. The monster quickly swung its tail at Zephyr. Unfortunately for it, our boy grabbed the tail and used it to go up. The monster tried to shake Zephyr off its tail, but our boy would not let it go. He forcefully held on the tail until he reached the height he wanted. When Zephyr finally got above the monster, he let go of the tail and jumped down with his spear pointed at the predator's head. Zephyr stabbed the predator in its forehead. The monster screamed in pain. It tried to shake Zephyr off. It quickly used its claws to attack our boy. Zephyr dodged the attack, but his spear broke into two. Zephyr decided to stab the monster in its eyes with the other side of the spear. He took out a short sword and decided to stab the monster for a third time. The predator could not do anything but scream out in pain. It wiggled its body and tried to shake Zephyr off. Our boy almost fell off the monster, but he held the sword tightly. He knew that he still needed to stab the monster for a last time. He used the sword to push himself up. Zephyr knew that his body was much better than the monster's. That is why he carefully prepared for the fight. Zephyr drank a large amount of recovery water in order to boost his magic power to the point where he could use it to pierce the predator's skull. Our boy clenched his fist and gathered magic energy in his hands. He pressed his fist against the broken spear and activated a magic technique called discharge. Immediately he did this. The spear went through the predator's head and crushed it. Upon seeing how Zephyr took care of the predator, Court began to laugh. He remembered that Zephyr wanted his assistance in entering the hunting team. Court never planned on fulfilling this request just because of Zephyr helped him with a cobalt dungeon. Court realized that he made a grave mistake. He understood that someone as powerful as Zephyr never really needed his help because people were bound to know Zephyr's worth. Of course, the current Zephyr is still a minor who cannot enter a dungeon. As Zephyr walked towards him, Court realized that he is a ticket that can help Zephyr improve his situation. Our boy looked at Court and told him that they need to chat. The scene shifts and we see a man trembling next to a dead body. The man was surrounded by some men who wanted to kill him. One of the men used a chain as a weapon. The man tried to explain himself to the men. He told them that he was not the one. The man reminded the men that they are all colleagues who entered the temple together. The men smiled as they got closer to the man. The man begged the leader of the men, whose name is Sahaku, to believe him. Sahaku smiled when he heard the man's voice. As tears flowed from his eyes, the man told Sahaku that he is not a devil worshipper. With a creepy look on his face, Sahaku asked his subordinate to crush the man. Immediately his subordinate heard this. He used his huge chain to crush the man's head. The man smiled as he crushed his colleague's head. Immediately after the man died, his body began to shake. A centipede came out of the man's mouth. The centipede had a strange mark on its head. The leader used his sword to crush the centipede. The centipede exploded. Sahaku licked his sword when he killed the centipede. He was surprised to see that the man was actually a devil worshipper. The scene shifts and we see Sahaku reporting to his master. Sahaku's master was shocked to hear that Sahaku killed 7 people in order to find one devil worshipper. Sahaku's master did not think that it was wise for his subordinate to kill 7 people in order to find a single bug. Sahaku told his master, who is known as Examiner Matthias, that devil worshippers are tricky. He told him that his team had to assume that the rest of the men were devil worshippers too. He reminded Matthias that there is only 1 month left until the raid. He told him that they have to take care of every heretic before the raid in order to guarantee its success. Matthias knew that Sahaku was right. He told his subordinate that he will appease the hunting team. With a serious look on his face, Matthias told Sahaku that he must deliver results. He asked him to not act rashly again. He reminded Sahaku that he is a member of the Department of Heresy Investigators. Sahaku smiled and accepted his master's orders. He realized that he had gotten away from his problem. In the next scene, we see Zephyr and Court at the Department of Human Resources. The attendant at the department asked Court to fill a request form. She asked him to tell her our boy's name and department. Court told her that Zephyr is from the mining department. He told her that he just joined his team last week. The attendant explained to Court that anytime a person wants to recruit someone from another department through nomination, the nominee will have to be placed in his team. She told Court that if Zephyr makes any errors during his performance, it will lower the performance rating of his team. She asked Court if he accepts the terms. With a bright smile on his face, Court gladly accepted the terms. This is because if Zephyr performs well, it will be credited to him. While grinning, Court thinks about how he has been blessed with an amazing opportunity. He remembered what happened in the dungeon yesterday. Zephyr asked Court to pretend like he did not encounter the predator. Court was shocked to hear this. He asked Zephyr if he is going to get rid of the monster's body. Zephyr smiled when he heard this. He told Court that he simply wants to take the predator's body. He explained to him that they can simply report that the dungeon is a cobalt dungeon. Any magical item, monster corpse, or magic stones that comes out of a dungeon can never belong to a temple slave. Anything the slaves obtain automatically becomes the temple's property. The only thing that combat slaves from the hunting team can obtain are bonuses based on the clearing reward and the value of the loot. Zephyr tapped the monster's corpse and told Court that they will make a lot of money if they sell the corpse to a broker. Court told our boy that it will be impossible to do such a thing. He reminded Zephyr that there is a surveillance team outside waiting for them, and even if they manage to sneak out, the post-processing team will enter the dungeon and retrieve the loot. Zephyr smiled when he heard this. He activated his silver key and dragged the monster into his subspace. He told Court that the monster was never in the dungeon. Court could not believe what he just saw. He could not believe that Zephyr was capable of using subspace magic. He was more surprised by the fact that Zephyr took a gigantic monster into his subspace because the normal subspace can only store a few inventory items. The monster did not just disappear. Even the blood on the ground was nowhere to be found. Zephyr asked Court if he wants to get promoted. He told Court that he will help him clear 3 more dungeons. He explained to Court that he can take the clearing reward. He told Court that he simply wants the monsters. The scene shifts and we are taken back to the 2 men. We see them sitting in a waiting room. Court realized that he had been the leader of his team for 3 years and he has not gotten any promotions at all. He realized that his life was going to change now that he has teamed up with an overpowered monster like Zephyr. The patrol team is the first team to enter a dungeon. Thanks to this, the team will be able to raid the dungeon without any interruptions. Court knew that his rank would increase if he clears a dungeon with only a few members. Since Court wanted a promotion and Zephyr wanted money, Court believed that their partnership is a good one. Of course, he knew that he had to be cautious. While sitting, our boy also contemplates about his debt. Zephyr knew that he could clear his debt if he sells the predator's corpse for a good price. Zephyr wanted to get out of the temple as soon as he could, but he still had something left to do. A huge raid will soon take place with the Temple Knights. The raid is scheduled to happen next month. The Knights will discover an amazing item that will cause a huge uproar in the entire continent. Zephyr had to partake in the raid and get the item. This item was quite necessary in changing the future. After waiting for a while, the attendant finally registered our boy as a member of the hunting team. She told Zephyr that she will give him an identity card. She asked him to collect the rest of the essential equipment at the supply depot. The scene shifts and we see Zephyr and Court on the street. Zephyr remembered how he was not able to participate the raid because he joined the hunting team after the participants had been announced. The hunting team will allow 20 people to participate in the raid. Our boy knew that he had to make an outstanding achievement in order to join this list of people. Of course, our boy already had a plan. He just had to carefully think about how he wanted to carry it out. Court pointed Zephyr towards a building. He told him that he will find people lined up on the first floor. This place is the supply depot. He explained to Zephyr that he has to go to the infirmary in order to check on Dale and Marco. While Court was talking, he noticed that Sahaku and his teammates were coming towards him. Court quickly dragged Zephyr out of the way and bent his head. It wasn't just Court and Zephyr that bowed their heads. The other people on the street also bowed their heads. When Sahaku passed by Zephyr's side, he noticed something odd. When Sahaku moved forward, Court explained to Zephyr that Sahaku's team is the team of heresy investigators. They are the direct slaves of the examiner. Court warned Zephyr to treat the team with high respect even though they are slaves. He revealed to Zephyr that the team usually disregards procedures and beats people up for no reason. They even take bystanders who simply bump shoulders with them. According to Court, Sahaku is the leader of the team. He is also known as the Mad Dog. He joined the team because he wanted to kill people. He never lets his prey go once he sets his eyes on it. Court advised Zephyr to be careful. Sahaku stopped and called out Court's name. Court was terrified to hear Sahaku's voice. He wondered if Sahaku heard what he said. Sahaku turned around and pointed at Zephyr. He took off his hood and asked Zephyr to state his name and department. Zephyr did not understand what Sahaku was trying to do. Court told Sahaku that Zephyr just transferred into his team. He told him that he is Zephyr's team leader. Sahaku asked Court to stop talking. With a terrifying look on his face, Sahaku told Court that he did not ask him any questions. Court was horrified to feel Sahaku's murderous aura. He quickly stepped back. Sahaku was shocked to see that Zephyr was not bothered by his murderous aura. He became certain about Zephyr. Sahaku has always been known to have heightened senses. He could tell that Zephyr is a high-level expert. Due to Zephyr's dressing, Sahaku realized that our boy was a mining slave. New slaves in the temple are tested before they are assigned a department. The temple usually tests for strength and magic. This test is conducted to allow more people join the hunting team because the hunting team always needs more recruits. It did not make sense to Sahaku that a high-level expert like Zephyr was sent to the mining team, and now he is transferring to the hunting team through a nomination. Sahaku believed that the entire situation was unnatural. His men quickly surrounded Zephyr. Although Sahaku knew that our boy is a high-level expert, he still believed that Zephyr could be captured by his team. With a smile on his face, Sahaku told Zephyr that he has a few questions for him. He asked Zephyr to answer honestly and calmly. Zephyr smiled when he realized what was going on. He could not believe that he was being challenged by a pathetic bastard. Our boy was happy to see that Sahaku came to him by himself. Guys, we have come to the end of our video. If you guys want part 3 of this video, let me know in the comments section. Don't forget to like and smash that subscribe button for more recaps. See you guys later.